How do you make a quick medical decision? Okay, here's the thing. Here's the situation. You are currently at your doctor's office, or they have just come in and assessed you, and they're telling you that they want to proceed with an induction or to break your waters, or you need to choose what kind of monitoring you want. Whatever it is, they're kind of putting pressure on you. And this is what the medical system typically does, is they will make it sound dire, like you have to make a decision now. And then they don't give you all the information. They only give you as much information as you need to make the choice that they want. They're also going to put you in fear and anxiety because they're telling you that there's something wrong with your baby. And that if you don't do something right now, that something catastrophic could happen. This then puts you in your fear-based thinking, not in your evidence-based thinking. And sometimes you don't have time to sort through the research, or you're asking the mom groups for help and you're getting a million different answers and you aren't sure what path to take. Like, how do you make a decision like that? So you need to ask yourself 3 questions before you proceed, because sometimes the medical system will, especially an OB, but also sometimes a midwife, will make it seem like you have to make a decision now. Like they're on a deadline. They need to schedule your induction or schedule your C-section. They need to put you on the books. So you need to make this choice so that they can mark it down in their little fancy chart and get things moving. But that takes you out of your power, because now you're back on their timeline, not on yours. So question number 1 you need to ask yourself is this. Do you really have to make the decision right now? Like, is there any real dire need that this decision has to be made right this second? If they're trying to put your induction on the books for maybe a week from now, or put your C-section on the books for a week from now, or decide what kind of monitoring you want, or put something in your birth plan just so they have a reference for it, or to do a test, it's not dire, is it? So you really need to recognize if they are scheduling something, it's not right now. It's not dire. Now, if there was actually an emergency and your baby needed to come out now, that's different. But typically, even when you're in labor, you have time to make a decision. They just make it sound like you don't, because they're on their own timeline. They're on the timeline of, let's get this on the books. Let's make it seem like this is scarcity. You know, like those sales when they say, oh, you got to act now or things are going to go fast. But then you go back to the store a couple of days later and they've got the exact same sale with the exact same stuff. And it turns out that it wasn't so dire after all. And actually you bought the thing for more than what they're now selling it for. And you feel, hey, I've been cheated out of this. I end up paying more than I needed to, and you were just going to put it on sale. So if you find out later that you could have waited an extra week before getting pushed into an induction, and most inductions these days seem to be scheduled, I've been seeing in the mom groups, between 39 weeks and 41 weeks, when the average gestation of a first-time mom is 41 weeks and 3 days. Make it make sense, people. Seriously, make it make sense. When 75% of babies are born at 41 weeks spontaneously, and 95 come by 42 weeks, maybe we could at least push it to 42 weeks and stop with the scaremongering. But, you know, you're 35, or you have a high body mass index, or high blood pressure, or whatever inserts high risk status. It could just be that you're tiny and your baby is seemingly too big, or you're tiny and your baby is seemingly too small. Whatever excuse they're making, you need to recognize that question. Do you have to act now? Second question, do you even want this? Yeah, instead of going, is this necessary? Because the medical system is going to automatically say it's necessary to avoid might possibly maybe happen catastrophic outcome that they're making up. If you're asking, Do I want this? Your gut feeling is going to tell you, no, I really don't want this. I want to question this. So, do I want it? Is this needed now? Do I want this? And then the third question you want to ask is, what else can I try before I go this route? It's the same thing as like when you're doing NABRI, now or nothing. What are the alternatives? What is the what is the benefits? What's the risks? What's your intuition say? Except it skips ahead, because you can try to argue your pros and cons all you want, but at the end of the day, do you want it? That's the simple question. Do you even want it? Don't try to convince yourself that it's a good idea through pros and cons. That's how they get you. They get you by playing on your fears. They get you by putting out these worst case scenarios. They get you by telling you what is typical, what's expected. And then when you go into the mom groups and you do the pros and cons, they're just basically reiterating the same things. They're regurgitating the same pros and cons that they've been had ingrained into their heads by society and by the evidence-based medical system that's not really evidence-based, and not really recognizing what true natural birth even is. Because at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, would this happen in the wild? If I was birthing in the wild, if nobody could get to me, no medical system could get to me, and I didn't have any medical assistance, your body's going to birth. Like, it's going to do it. So if that was the scenario, if you were actually trapped in the middle of nowhere and you were going into labor, would you have that? Would you need that? Do you want that? That's the trick. I mean, I have a whole bunch more things I could do to talk about this. I'm thinking of creating some guides to add to your Empowered Birth Academy, which of course, if you want to reach out to me and ask questions, you're always free to do so. I base a lot of what I teach on what moms ask most. So many times we're just focusing on what to do to cope for natural birth or evidence-based, and we're not really looking at how to advocate for ourselves, how to make those critical decisions, how to get past our fear. Because at the end of the day, if you're still afraid, you're going to make a fear-based decision, and they're going to keep pressuring you. So, one more tip before I go and enjoy this beautiful sunshine at the beach, because as you can tell, I'm in summer mode. I'm going to be sharing on my Instagram. I'm going to be sharing live. The videos are eventually going to go on YouTube, but they tend to get edited and clipped and put on YouTube at a later point. So you can go check my channel for old videos. I also do deep dive trainings. I have my book, Your Empowered Birth, where I've read out my entire system to you, so you can go and check that out. I'm going to be sharing more on that channel. I have interviews on that channel as well. This is basically my soapbox. So if you love to get live tips from me and straight off the press, then this is the place to do it. If you want a whole library of videos, go to my YouTube channel. If you want PDF guides and resources and more of a direct approach, go to my website, empoweringmomsbirth.com. If you want my book, you go and get that off of Amazon. It's Your Empowered Birth. It's one of many things that I'm creating. If you want a course, I have Your Empowered Birth Academy. I don't work with everyone directly as a coach, so that is a little bit steeper in price. And hey, it's summer, so I'm only taking 1 or 2 people for the next 6 months. So if you really want to get weekly updates, the best bet would be to subscribe to my newsletter. In this newsletter, I also highlight other birth workers, other offers, other resources. Last week, I found an OB who actually seems pretty good. She got out of her practice and teaches women how to get past their fear and anxiety. She talks about advocacy. Some of the things that she spoke about, I'm like, wow, there's somebody out there who actually gets it. So don't think that I'm anti-OB. Don't think that I'm anti-midwife. I'm not. I believe the medical system has its place. I believe that there's birth professionals out there that really do want to help us. I also recognize that often their hands are tied, and the only way they can really make a change is to get out of the system. So my goal really with the Empowered Birth movement is to make sure that you can be a savvy birth consumer and you can start propping up those care providers so they don't have to leave the industry, and we're not in a maternity care desert. In fact, they can actually still support you, and you are strong enough that you can change the system from the outside in, because I've seen it. In fact, there's a video on my YouTube channel where I talked about why your midwife can't fully advocate for you, why you need to really understand this. I shared it last year in the summertime, and yeah, so if you want that newsletter where I give you a weekly update every Thursday, and the time is very sporadic because it's done when it's done. I share the updates on what's coming up in the Empowered Birth community, what I'm seeing in the other channels, resources that you might not see otherwise. And basically, this newsletter is a deeper dive. It's very intensive and it is highly valuable. You mine that for gold, and it's almost as good as me coaching you. To get that, you just go to empoweringmomsbirth.com/toolkit. You'll get my PDF guides, you'll get a fear release training, you'll get my birth advocacy report, you'll get a report on avoiding the natural birth traps. You're basically going to have everything you need, including how to make decisions besides just asking these 3 questions. And yeah, you'll automatically get on the newsletter as well, and I'll be able to give you those tips, because as I said, I don't work with everyone and I want to still help everyone. So spread this. If you found value in this video, like it, save it, share it with others, subscribe to the channel, follow, tell others about Empowering Mom's Birth, because what I'm doing here is basically telling you all the things that I wish I had known as a first-time mom and even as a seasoned mom that a lot of moms don't know, and then they go into the system, and there comes a point in their pregnancy where usually at the end their care provider, who was formerly supportive, is now pushing them to make a decision around induction or C-section, or saying, oh, because you're high risk you'll have to have monitoring, and they're getting on the mom forums at like 35 weeks and up when it's too late, and they're trying to make these decisions, and it's heartbreaking. So again, just to recap, the 3 questions you want to ask are, do you need to even do this right now, or can you ask for more time? The second question is, do you even want this? And the third question, which I also think is probably the most important after do you want this, is what other alternatives are there? Because oftentimes the medical system just tries to hit everything with a hammer, and it's not necessary. All right, I will talk to you later. I'm going to enjoy the beach. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.